Welcome back to Hollywood Recapped. Today I will recap a drama romance movie titled Zaklina. The movie was released in the year 2012. Before you begin watching the recap, please subscribe and like this video. The film opens in a school with a math teacher. She is teaching the students, while two boys named Robert and Jacek sitting on the rear seat. They are discussing things with one another. When the teacher notices them, she asks how much they have written it down from the lesson, and discovers that the two lads are not doing anything. They were having a good time while penning stories in the notepad. That is why the teacher becomes enraged and asks them why they are in class if they don't study, and a girl in the front seat informs the teacher that those lads are always gazing at girls. She also claims that the guys visualize the female teachers when they look at them. Meantime, the two boys started wondering if they had made up a story about their teachers. They can then sell a story to film producers later on. This is the reason the teacher becomes enraged and informs them that anything they are thinking is incorrect and that they will never be paid for their stories. When the lads start to go home from school, they view their English teacher, Zaklina. They are madly in love with her and daydream about her daily. They followed and stalk her anytime she is out. After a while, Zaklina went for swimming, and Robert and Jacek followed her to the pool. Zaklina then begins swimming, while they view her in the pool. Further, Robert and Jacek enter the pool with her, and watch her in water. Zaklina's swimwear suddenly opens, and the guys witness her in that semi-nude situation. They begin to delight because they now have the desired picture of hers. Later, Zaklina returns home, and the lads follow her. Zaklina had a husband, and she was displeased with him. Out from the window, the boys watches her. Zaklina was disturbed by her marriage. Robert wanted to capture her picture right when she did change her clothes. Jacek just then stops him and tells that what he was doing was wrong. The boys create a film based on their stories the next day and exhibit it to Zaklina. She enjoys it, acknowledges them, and thinks they did a fantastic job. Zaklina then exhibits their video in the classroom. All through this, students begin to laugh at the film. At that point, Zaklina simply tells all of the students that the boys have created an excellent film. Anybody could cry watching the film, and they should admire the film and the hard work that went into it. When Robert and Jacek heard this from their teacher, they were overjoyed and begin to believe that their teacher clearly loves them. After the school, lads edit their videos because they feel that if they improve their films, they would be able to get what they desire from their teacher. When they showed up to school the next day, they informed their classmates that the math teacher was upset and that she was taking an additional class. That is why they were unable to exhibit their video today. Robert informs the students that their math teacher has called them in the extra class. Actually, everything had been a lie since the boys desired to see the teacher alone. This is the reason they lied, and when the teacher arrived, she was startled to see there were no more students than the two guys. She did, however, begin her class. Meanwhile, the lads are uninterested in her lesson and begin fantasizing about her when she is teaching. They both fantasize about enjoying her in every manner possible. In the meantime, their teacher became friendly with them and stated them to resume their class after smoking. This is why they went outside to smoke. Furthermore, Robert began chatting to Zaklina and became close to her, while Jacek felt envious and desired to speak with her. He couldn't speak as openly as Robert since he was an introvert. Zaklina tells Robert that his sweater is lovely, that must be warm. Robert responds that her outfit is also lovely, and she is charming in it. As Zaklina hears this, she realizes what Robert is up to. That's why she became frank with him and opened out to him as if they were friends. As Robert received the green signal from his teacher, he approached her and said that he wanted some photos of her for a school assignment, and she agreed to provide him with some. During their conversation, Robert says to Zaklina that she is excellent at swimming, to which Zaklina responds that she is also great at opening her swimwear, which they must understand since they saw her at the pool. When those lads heard that, they were startled to know that she knew about them, that they followed her to the pool. The next morning, Robert brings Zaklina someplace alone for a picture session, and he doesn't inform Jacek about this meeting since he wants to come closer to her. But Jacek was tracking Robert and arrived there as well, hiding behind the woods. Zaklina was posing in enticing poses for the photos, which is why she absolutely heated up Robert. Later that day, Robert was staring at Zaklina's photo in his room. His mother becomes irritated with him since he does not concentrate on his schoolwork. She is told by his math teacher that he is the poorest student in class. Robert said that he wanted to make films with his creativity and his wonderful stories, and his mother then questioned as to where he would acquire the funds for his film, since Robert had assumed that he might acquire money from his ideas. Later that night, he wrote a letter and emailed his teacher. When Zaklina gets to class the next day, she asks all of the students that wrote her a letter the day before. The students burst out laughing when they learn about it. Jacek, in contrast was unhappy since Robert had deceived him, and his math teacher had failed him. Jacek wants Robert to drop him off at his home. Robert had plans with Zaklina, so he informed Jacek that he might be late for class. Later, when Jacek learned of his plans, he became unhappy and leaves without saying a word. Later, Zaklina shows up and Robert invites her for a ride with him, and she accepts. Robert brings her to a local lake. Once they arrive, they remove their clothing and swim in the lake. Later, Robert informs Zaklina that he sent her the mail. She tells him. She obviously knows it as he constantly follows her, and then they make sex. Zaklina chooses Robert and Jacek for the upcoming film, Fiesta, the next day. Their parents now must send them to the event because they have been chosen. Simultaneously, Robert's father glances at Zaklina and begins daydreaming about her. Later in the film fest, Robert becomes restless and seeks out Zaklina. When he arrives to her room with flowers, much to his shock their math teacher appears. Robert immediately throws the flower and leaves, claiming that he arrived accidentally. Jacek, on the contrary, notices that Robert is growing closer to Zaklina. He simply asks Robert to play with him merely to keep him back from her. While pondering about Zaklina, Robert was unable to engage in anything or play with him. Later that night, when the whole party is inebriated, Robert goes to meet with Zaklina. He notices Zaklina conversing to the math teacher, and she falls asleep. After a while, then Robert seizes his opportunity and comes to Zaklina. He wants to be physical with her, and she is intrigued to him as well. However, that location was too dangerous for them to be sexual, so Robert escorted her some other place. While Jacek stood behind the woods, watching them. He becomes enraged when he sees them together, as they had planned on seeing Zaklina together. He believes Robert cheats him, and afterwards, Robert makes sex with Zaklina. Jacek captures their sexual activity. Zaklina and Robert, on the other hand, had no clue and began meeting every day. Also, Zaklina had a dissatisfied husband, and Robert didn't have anyone to make him happy, which is why he is infatuated with her. When they returned from the film festival, Robert couldn't stop thinking about Zaklina. Zaklina, for her part, was unhappy with her marriage. Robert goes to meet Zaklina at night and becomes sexual with her. When Robert returns to school the next day, all of his classmates compliment him on his relation with his teacher. Robert was taken aback and puzzled how they knew, and at the same time, he notices Zaklina sobbing in the principal's office. He realized that Jacek had told everyone about his and Zaklina's affair, because he was the only one who was aware of it. Robert immediately approaches him, and they begin fighting, after which Robert departs. He was depressed since he had lost his love, so he leapt from a great height on his bike and was severely injured. With that, the film comes to an end. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe for more videos. Take very good care, and see you again next time.